Good morning. This morning, I would like to talk about a chapter from a section of Mark chapter 2, verse 23 through Mark chapter 3, verse 6. And it's all about the Sabbath, which is such an interesting topic in our culture and society right now. And I don't know if you can hear it, but right now, our incredible organist, Una, is practicing and it's filtering right down from the sanctuary here. So we have a soundtrack, which is great. So here's our passage for today. One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need of food? He entered the house of God when Abiathar was high priest, and he ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priest to eat, and he gave some to his companions." And then he said to them, "The Sabbath was made for humankind, not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." Again, he entered the synagogue, and a man was there who had a withered hand. They watched him to see whether he would cure him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Come forward." And then he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. He looked around them with anger. He was grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately conspired with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. You know, the older I get, the more I enjoy having things figured out. I enjoy learning new things for sure, but sometimes it's nice to just know the rules. To throw together a pot of spaghetti or a batch of chocolate chip cookies without checking a recipe, or to drive somewhere without looking at a map app. Knowing the rules can help us feel secure, knowing our place in the world and how we relate to others. And I think Sabbath in the era that Mark's gospel describes is something that people in general, and particularly the religious leaders, thought they had figured out. Started and finished at a certain time, very specific prayers and rituals, and some strong rules governing behavior, what you were allowed to do or not do, and what was considered work that would break the rules of a day of rest. One of those rules was no harvesting, which was reasonable, a way for agricultural workers to set that aside for a moment and take time of reflection and rest. But did it match just a few heads of grain for people that were hungry? And that, I think, is what Jesus is asking, because here he comes. As usual, taking what we humans think we know and challenging it, shaking it up, and pointing toward the kingdom of God instead. When Jesus tells them that the Sabbath was made for us, for humans, and not the other way around, he flips the script on what Sabbath was at that moment and invites them instead into a new way of living. It's a reminder that rest isn't about following rules. It's about experiencing the freedom and joy of being fully alive. Jesus reminds them, and maybe us, that Sabbath isn't just a day off. It's kind of a countercultural act that embraces a way of life that's rooted in love and compassion and radical hospitality. It's time to break free from chains of busyness or consumerism and step instead into the fullness of who we were created to be. And I wonder, maybe it's even a way to join Jesus in bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. In this world we live in, well, it's desperate for a taste of the divine. So may we join Jesus in flipping the script on the current rule book and make healing and restoration a way of life, maybe every day. I'll see you Sunday.